My dad needs anger management. Update. It's been a little over half a year since I made my original post talking about my dad and his anger problems. For starters, I read everyone's advice and I'm still living with him. Things have been better, sort of. For the most part, it's been pretty chill. The only incident I had since that post was, again, because of my stress while driving, and it caused me to get dragged through the house by my arm and my butt hooped again because I tried to pull over into a parking lot to decide where we should go for an 11 p.m. snack instead of driving around with nowhere to go. As I said, I did read everyone's advice, and I secretly do have access to my social security card. It's only for emergencies, though. Nothing major has happened, but nothing that warrants me running away, lol. The only sad news is that my cat of almost 12 years passed away this past July after being ill for a month and rapidly declining, so that really had me messed up for over a month. In better news, I reconnected with a friend of mine and we are talking now and became closer than ever, even talking about a possible relationship, so that's a bonus. I appreciate everyone listening to me talk about my issues. I still have the original post up, it's just archived due to the 6-month rule. Anyways, I love you amazing internet strangers for your advice. Mother is a liar and a thief. I am of mixed ethnicity. I have a Vietnamese mother who, if accused of doing something, despite full evidence of that thing, she will swear on her life that she did not do it, etc. And if it is falsely accusing her, the accuser will dung xe ban mang, basically get into a life-ending car accident with organs, body parts thrown everywhere. In Vietnamese, I believe this is called the ban mang, swearing on lives, basically egging on death for the person in the wrong. I moved back to my home state recently, back into the family home. Took out a number of my own things for communal use. Now growing up and into early adulthood, I know my mother has this habit of taking my things and stashing them away, never to be seen ever again, essentially stealing my crap. She has rooms locked up with stuff that no one has access to. So I warned her, this stuff is for everyone to use. If it goes missing, there will be consequences. Basically meaning, so don't steal my crap. It's been about 2 weeks since, lo and behold, half my crap is missing. So I confront her and of course, all this swearing on lives begins, and her rant that if I am falsely accusing her, we'll get into a massive car accident. There are no other capable thieves in my house. Only my mother. Do you have parents who do this? Swear on their lives when they are clearly lying. Do you believe in it? I'm not sure why she does it so much, because we've seen the consequences of swearing like this materialize badly for other people. What do I do? Is it time to cut ties with this toxic as F#% mother for good? I'm really very well done. My dad bought me and my brother a retro console as a gift, but my mom took it away and forbid me to use it because she wants us to get bored and tired of video games so that we can stop playing. Seriously, WTF is wrong with her? Does she not feel ashamed for this entitlement and buffoonery? Guys, I just received a gift and I really want to use it, but my mom has become so arrogant to do something like this. And she lets me play all freaking day on my computer, but not on this. Because video games are bad. Worst thing of all, my dad doesn't do anything about it since he's working as a surgeon and only comes 2 days a week maximum. So even though he can tell my mom that we can use it, full stop, he doesn't do it because then my mother would start making a drama about how no one helps her and it affects us. My mom has been an excellent parent and I love her very much, but this just crosses the line, guys. What can I do now? My mom tried to steal my wedding to renew her vows. I recently got engaged and my mom was excited, maybe too excited. She then started hinting that her 25th wedding anniversary was coming up and how perfect it would be if she and my dad renewed their vows during my wedding ceremony. I laughed it off, thinking she was joking. Turns out, she wasn't. She's now demanding we split the event so it can be a double celebration for her. My fiancé and I are furious. Has anyone else had their special day hijacked like this by their parents? I want to have my fiancé limit contact with her parents. Sorry in advance, this might be a long one. Also, I do have her permission to post this. Trigger warning: sexual abuse, jokes about race, trans and homophobia, mental abuse, severe guilt tripping, suicidal thoughts. Me, M24, and my soon-to-be fiancé, F23, have been dating for about 5 years. She is smart, beautiful, and the light of my life. Love her to death. Like any healthy and happy couple, we have our fair share of joke arguments here and there, maybe a minor serious argument once every blue moon. However, when it comes to her parents, they are a complete nightmare to deal with, and it is reaching a breaking point between us. Some background. We met in college, and I got to meet her folks after our second date, who seemed normal enough. She was adopted by her grandparents for reasons that don't need to be disclosed here, other than the fact their daughter and her husband were very abusive towards her, and she needed therapy all throughout childhood because of sexual abuse. Now it seems because of her grandparents, we'll refer to them as parents for simplicity here on out, she wants to go back to therapy, and I support her 100%. Trouble started showing during COVID. My fiancée works in the medical field and has a good head on her shoulders, so she kept up with developing news about it. Her parents, however, are Trump nuts. No other way to put it. They think he was and still is the smartest and greatest man to ever live, and anyone who disagrees is just a hater and not a real Christian. Personally, I could give two shits about anyone's opinion on COVID or politics. However, the first major red flag was on Election Day 2020. I was watching the news in the living room with her mother and a couple of minorities. Sorry if this is improper. Come on the TV to give their opinion. Well, her mother proudly proclaimed, "Those people shouldn't even be allowed to vote." Taken aback, I asked what she meant by that. Seeing that they were Trump nuts and the people on the TV were talking about voting Democrat, I thought she meant political affiliation. But no, she meant because they weren't white. To this day, they constantly say, "those people," when referring to any minority who is anything but pure white. Then about a year or so into the relationship, my fiancée started opening up more as she has trust issues because of her parents, like how they removed her bedroom door just before she became a teenager, or forced her to break up with her first serious BF after getting out of an abusive relationship just because they had sex. And although it wasn't mentioned, me and my fiancée both agree it was probably more so forced because it was a black man. Then she told me about how her mother comments about her weight and constantly makes her feel bad about herself and her body. Now, I do want to mention here before going any further that her mother is dying. I feel for my fiancée. I want to be there to support her in any way possible, especially for when her mother passes. However, everything becomes a competition with her. Have a broken leg? Well, didn't you know I'm dying? That's so much worse. She likes to control the room and talk over anyone and everyone to the point where no one can get a word in edgewise. Essentially, talking to her is just listening to her have a conversation about herself, and I feel as though this just fed into my fiancée never feeling heard by her parents. Her mother loves telling long stories, most of which she tells over and over again, which normally wouldn't be an issue. When my fiancée tries to tell her she heard the story before, her mother will flip her lid. She will scream at her, demanding she gets to finish her story, and will often do it over the phone. This will make my fiancée very upset and often spend very long periods of time on the phone with her, which she doesn't like to do. Her mother is less so the problem. In fact, I would that she should stay close to her mother, despite everything I previously stated. If her father is cut off, her father, however, might be one of the worst people I have ever had the displeasure of interacting with. Again, much like her mother, red flags didn't appear until about a year into dating, but her father was so much worse than I ever could have feared. He will guilt trip, gaslight, and use anything to his advantage to get his way. Her mother always defends his manipulative actions, to which my fiancé has just learned to put up with it. Because of this, he has always kept me on edge, and I always got a bad vibe from him, and always felt like he never liked me. I come from a fairly well-off family, and because of that, I feel like he resents me for it. My breaking point was when I was still in college. At the time, I was in the social studies education program, on track to become a teacher. One time when we were visiting, making a pit stop at their house before driving to my parents for Thanksgiving, he waits until my fiancée is out of the room and makes a joke. "Hey, if you're becoming a teacher, make sure you don't become trans, then try to rape the kids into thinking they are gay." Now, as a person who is bisexual, this completely threw me off. I didn't even know what to say, or if I should even tell my fiancée what happened, out of fear that she wouldn't believe me. I waited a whole week after that incident to tell her what happened and that I was done speaking to him or ever being alone with him in a room again. She believed me immediately, but just responded with, "That's just how he is." From that point on, I had no idea how to even speak to them at that point, and refused to even go with her to visit when they demanded she dog sat for them, while they were out of town to get her mother treatment, despite her being extremely busy with college. But since they loved to guilt trip, she often gave in. This continued until I graduated college and my fiancée had a year left, so I helped her move into her new apartment with her father. I stayed civil and so did he. My fiancé even said he wanted to apologize about the joke, which of course he didn't, and when I brought it up with her, she said that he told her that he did apologize, just straight up lied. Maybe I was out of earshot, but an actual apology, I believe you would want to at least have the person's full attention. Then last November, she got an exciting opportunity to interview at the Mayo Clinic in Amin, which she got the job before graduation. We were extremely excited. My parents were so proud of her and helped us in every way they could with the move, and constantly told her how impressive the accomplishment was. Her parents were not very happy. Before stating this, I want to let you know this is my personal opinion. Her parents always seemed like they wanted her to stay home and take care of her mother. They always said college was a waste of time and turned people away from God and made them liberals. Seeing that she worked as an CNA in high school, she had some experience working with the sick and elderly. Every time she went home, they would just make her run errands while they both sat at home and did nothing. At her own graduation party, my mother expressed her happiness that my fiancé got this job opportunity and we were moving. Dad just grunted and said, "We'll see how long it lasts." I should state her mother expressed happiness as well for the opportunity for her speech at said party, while her father looked miserable. Then the day of the move came, and both families were helping us pack up to move across the country. However, while inside her parents' house to use the bathroom, her father pulled me aside and said to me, "You better keep her on a tighter leash than the one you have her on now." I am not a violent person, but I swear I was very close to breaking his nose. I cannot even begin to wonder what kind of person can talk about their daughter in such a way. That's when this thought of limiting contact really began to fester. I also want to preface a few more things quickly. 1. Both of their biological children want nothing to do with them. They don't talk to them only because I can imagine her parents treated them the same way they treat my fiancé. 2. They are religious to a ridiculous degree where they think all science is fake, and even once said that if my fiancé needed a new heart at birth to live, they would have let her die. The church they go to is a cult where the pastor makes political remarks constantly. When we moved out here, they told my fiancé they hope she failed, and we break up because we were spitting in God's face by moving in together by not being married. 3. Both of my parents are religious, and both of us have no issues with them. They are also Republican, but are free enough thinkers that they don't blindly vote on election day. They have been nothing but supportive of me and my fiancé, who they adore. They are aware of the situation and try to reach out to my fiancé for support whenever they can. My mother has been a rock for her, and I'm thankful they are understanding through this whole situation. Present. Now we are living in Minnesota, states away from them, and they constantly call my fiancé and text her for things they could probably Google, like where to find dog toys or other silly things. I can only assume because they don't want to lose another kid who is still willing to talk to them. Her father will make snide remarks on the phone or through text such as, "We still love you. We haven't taken you off the will yet," or, "I guess you don't love us enough to care to even call," despite her starting her new job and being very busy the first few months after the move. My parents, other family, friends, and myself are very concerned about her mental health when it comes to her parents. She is stressed at work, and her parents certainly can't be helping with that. A few weeks ago, she flew home for a bridal shower, of which she is the maid of honor. Well, her parents made that weekend hell on earth. It became her breaking point. They brought up politics in the middle of a restaurant dinner with my fiancé, and she said her opinion on abortion. Her mother started wailing and crying, making a scene in the restaurant. Anytime she was home, they got into a screaming match because they didn't like that she was forming her own opinions. Her father walked out, and her mother started crying, claiming that he was suicidal and mentally unwell and seeing a therapist. To which me and my fiancé both thought was a lie until we realized the only person who goes into their house is their pastor, the very same who wished that my fiancé failed at her dream job, so they considered him a therapist. Her father almost never leaves the house unless it's getting groceries because all of his time is spent taking care of her mother. Every time she called me, she sounded miserable. She told her best friend who's getting married at her bridal shower that she didn't even want to go home and see them. To top it all off, my fiancé had multiple mental breakdowns in that single weekend. Now, after that weekend, I started bringing up the possibility of lessening the amount of contact she has with them. I know I'm not a perfect person, and I like to think myself as somewhat reasonable. I want her to have a good relationship with her parents, but after everything they've done, and every time she goes home and has a new story to tell me about what they've said or done to her, I see that as less and less of a possibility. At first, I said, maybe don't talk to them for a week, and if you feel better, or they don't improve, make it a month or a year. I understand since her mother is dying, she doesn't want to completely cut them off and regret not speaking to her more before dying. I would never be able to forgive myself if that were to happen, and she would understandably hate me for it. It has gotten to the point where even my own mother thinks it's for the best, and being raised as an Italian Catholic, nothing is more important than family to her. Before flying out for the actual wedding, the bridal shower was for I lost sleep and started losing some hair from the amount of stress of having to see her parents again. I know she was just as worried as well and did everything I could to support her. I had no idea what they would do or say to possibly ruin what should be a celebratory weekend with her and her best friend getting married. I love my fiancée. She is the most amazing person in the world, and I'm so proud of her for getting her dream job at one of the world's best hospitals. I just don't know what I can do to help anymore. I want to help her, and I'm hoping other people here who have gone through something similar can give some advice, words of encouragement, or something to help her. If you read all of that insanity, thank you. TLDR. Insane in-laws make fiancé's life a living hell, and I don't know how to support her any more than I already have been without severely limiting contact. Edit. Forgot to mention they still want her to move back home, and are still saying moving out was a mistake, which only frustrates her more as she is a lot more happy being away from them.